a WB holiday event that will give you the chills. This Christmas, All Angel wants his redemption for 200 years of killing. Now, his victims have returned, and they're not offering forgiveness.
I think we're losing him.
If he truly becomes a danger, you may have to kill him. Again.
I love you so much.
And now, an all-new WB holiday event, a Buffy Christmas.
Hello, and welcome to this week's edition of Slade, the Buffyverse Revisited. I'm one of your hosts, I'm Jeremy.
I'm your other host, James.
And this week we will be plunging into Season 3, Episode 10, Amends.
Like polar plunging?
Yes, polar plunging.
Okay, nice.
Yep, I'm butt naked right now jumping into a frozen...
Wow. Thank
Yeah.
goodness anybody that's watching knows that is not true.
It might be from my waist down.
That, I suppose that's true.
You'll never know.
Wait, well, it's a mystery that'll never be solved. Like, how many licks does it take to get to the center of a Tootsie Roll Pop?
It takes 3. Everybody knows that.
Who shot Kennedy? Is
takes-
Bigfoot real? Why
Yes.
did Bigfoot shoot Kennedy?
I've met Bigfoot, just FYI. And we all know it takes 3 licks to get to the center of a Tootsie Roll Tootsie Pop.
I suppose if you're a glutton and you just want to get to the Tootsie Roll center.
Who wouldn't? I mean, come on. This is what I eat one of these every fucking episode. I know more than anyone.
You know, Starburst has lollipops now.
Yeah, but I was never a big Starburst fan. I mean, like, I like the red one, and I think that's about it. The rest of them kind of taste like, I don't know. Just, I'm not a fan.
Yeah, I don't know. The flavor I got is the pink one, so that's strawberry. Is
Yeah, I'm
the
not a
flavor
big strawberry, like fake strawberry taste fan.
right.
It's usually
Right.
way too sweet, and I'm like, this doesn't taste anything like a strawberry.
But everyone loves the pink flavored Pop Tart or Starburst Pop Tarts. You got Pop Tarts on the brain.
Yeah, you gonna have a Pop Tart while we record here?
What's your favorite kind of Pop Tart?
The blue ones, the blueberry.
I suppose
Bloobs or cherry, probably.
that's acceptable.
Okay.
Yes.
I guess we can go on along with the show now. James, why don't you, saute us up, just lightly saute.
You don't want to know if we have any new comments or interactions or anything?
No, I don't care.
Oh.
Yes, I do. I'm sorry. For me, it is very early in the morning. And
It is.
I am not equipped to be up this early, and so yeah, I'm probably going to fail all over the place in this episode.
It is early for you. By special request, you have agreed to film early for me. And
I did rise from my coffin early today,
and I appreciate it. I do
whilst
appreciate
the sun is still out. It's insane. I don't even know what's happening right now.
So we don't have a lot in the comments and interactions area to talk about. Our good friend Silver Siren, our OG fan, did leave some comments on our Lovers Walk episode and The Wish. So the main takeaway from the Lovers Walk episode is that I am right about the episode and you are wrong. It's a good episode.
Oh, okay.
And
your picture for me has been frozen for like the last 30 seconds.
Well, then this
Just
may
letting you know.
be this may be a videoless uh episode for me. Let's see.
Oh, off and
Is
oh,
that
you're
better?
back and
I'm
you're
back.
back.
All right. And then she left quite a bit on the Wish. I don't know if you had a chance to hop over there and um, look at any of those comments.
No,
She,
I did reply to the one about what
on
throwing.
yeah, on Lover's Walk. So
Yeah.
so um, for the Wish, um, she did want to discuss with you your thoughts on people dying in alternate realities versus the real world.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and she's upset with me because I pointed out the similarities between Xander and Willow metaphorically killing Cordelia uh, in the real world and actually killing her uh, in the false Wish reality world. How it was very similar. She was
Right.
upset with that. She was upset with me for pointing that out because she thought she would be the first person to make that connection or draw that parallel. But surprise,
You stole her.
surprise, right? Surprise. Sometimes I is smart.
You is book knowing.
I is book knowing. So we do appreciate the comments and the conversation starters. I will probably hop on later and respond to some of the things brought up in that comment. Jeremy, you are too is welcome, obviously, since she
I
did.
also.
Yes, since she did want your she wanted to further the discussion with your ideas in regards to people dying in uh, alternate realities versus the real world and how
Yeah.
that should affect things. So
Yeah. Well, I'll definitely go into that on the. What is that on? Is that on the YouTube?
that is on the old YouTubes. Yep.
The tubes. Okay. I
Yep.
will respond to that on the tubes.
For the Wish. And I'll hop on there and toss some of my thoughts out there too. Um, you know, but uh, now you wanted some tasty dates and deets, didn't you?
Yes, just lightly sautéed.
Lightly sautéed. Okay, just a little browning.
Yes,
Nothing.
just lightly
Okay.
brown. A little
Okay.
sizzle to it.
hmm This week we will be revisiting Buffy the Vampire Slayer season 3, episode 10, our 44th episode of the series overall. Mm-hmm. 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 And we
What?
are this would have been the mid-season finale of episode or of season 3 before they took their mid-season hiatus.
Yeah,
Uh
I
for us,
noticed the air dates. Yeah,
yeah, for us, however, we will be covering one more episode before we take our 2-week hiatus.
we like
Um,
even. We like to cut it even right down the middle.
we do. So the season is 22 episodes. So we will be taking our hiatus after episode 11, Gingerbread. That will be a 2-week hiatus, which will bring us back. When will that bring us back, Jeremy? I believe
I don't know the
April.
maths.
I believe it is
It's April.
April.
It's the first. I'm sure the first Monday of April.
Yeah, looks to be April 3rd.
Yeah.
Yep. And so we'll be back with a new episode April 3rd, and then the following week, April 10th, um, we can discuss my adventures at C2E2, as I will be attending C2E2 again this year,
And
as I do.
I'm still pissed about that.
I'm sorry. I don't know what to tell you.
I guess I just need to move somewhere where they have fun stuff.
I guess so. I'll tell you what. Jeremy. Um, when I have my own place, I currently do not live by myself, as you know, and some of the listeners may know. When I have my own place, you are more than welcome to spend C2E2 weekend in my guest bedroom.
Ooh, now does that include a little bit of midnight?
Um, uh, I won't charge you anything for staying the weekend at my home, but
Uh-huh.
if you do want the extras, then there may have to be a fee.
Yeah, I mean, you learn from Joyce, so
Right.
it's
Right.
understandable. You've learned how to run your business.
Right. Right.
It's hard
Uh
for a pimp.
it's hard out here for a pimp. That's right. Where did I leave off? Oh, yes, our 44th episode of the series, Amends. Our episode director this week is he who shall not be named. And our episode credited writer this week is also he who shall not be named. Our original air date was December 15th, 1998, and
Sorry, that was delayed, but that's for you who shall not be named.
and this was heavily promoted in the weeks prior to its airing as the Buffy Christmas episode. To the best of my knowledge, the only Buffy quote unquote Christmas episode.
Well, I was going to ask you that because I cannot recall. I mean, hell, there's episodes in season 3, which is my favorite season, and I'm like, oh shit, I didn't remember this. So I was like, when I was watching this, I was like, wait a minute, is this the only time they ever really did Christmas on this show? And I think it is.
I think it is. I think it
Yeah.
is. So our sorry. It originally aired on the now defunct WB network to a Nielsen rating of 4.3 million households when it first aired, ranking it as 88th out of the 133 original network primetime shows for that week, and third out of the 15 original shows airing on the WB that week.
That just annoys me every week you say that, because I'm like, dude, what was better than this at the time? Nothing.
I mean, I agree. I mean, but again, it's genre television.
I know.
Is
It's
the
got
issue.
all the teeny boppers that we're watching, Dawson's Crack and
Right.
One Tree Crack House and all that.
Right. As much as Buffy is, and it very much is your standard at the time WB teen drama, it's also got the element of being a horror show, and I think that
people absolutely love now.
right.
And it's at that time it was like
Right. At that time for that genre audience, was this the biggest thing going? Oh yeah, 100%.
Oh yeah. For their
right, for the people interested in that genre. Unfortunately, the just basic teen drama genre was more popular. But yeah, I mean, in the years since, and obviously, as we've talked about, Buffy catapulted that. There wouldn't have been Supernatural or Teen Wolf,
because no, I don't think any network would have had the balls to greenlight those shows,
right?
Without being, well, that Buffy the Vampire Slayer was pretty fucking popular. Maybe we can,
Oh yeah, 100%. You wouldn't have, Supernatural, which is another huge fandom of mine. I'm a big fan of that. Teen Wolf wouldn't exist, without Buffy. So, it's definitely skyrocketed since Buffy's inception. Our regular cast, as always, includes Sarah Michelle Gellar as Buffy, Nicholas Brendan as Xander, Allison Hannigan as Willow, Charisma Carpenter as Cordelia, David Boreanaz as Angel, Seth Green as Oz, and Anthony Stewart Head as Giles. Our guest stars this week include Christine Sutherland as everyone's favorite mommy, Joyce. Saverio Guerra as Willie the Snitch. I don't think he's made an appearance since season 2.
Yeah, he hasn't made any appearances this season, so yeah, he's
Shane Barrich as Daniel, Edward Edwards as Travis, Hayes.
no way, Edward Edwards.
Who does that to their kid?
And he didn't think to go with a stage name,
right?
Oh my God.
Hayes O'Harley as Margaret, Liza Dushku as Faith, and Robia Lamort making what will be her final appearance in the show as the embodiment of the first. Of course, we all know her as Miss Jenny Calendar.
Jenny Calendar.
Our episode synopsis this week reads: Buffy hopes for a quiet Christmas, but Angel is troubled by visions of his past and the ghost of Jenny Calendar. Which I feel for the descriptions I pull. I think it's pretty good this time.
Yeah, that's one of the better ones you've pulled.
Yeah.
Mine reads, as the Christmas holiday approaches, Angel is tormented by evil apparitions who want him to eliminate Buffy. Accurate, but a little leaf bearing there.
Yeah, it does kind of, yeah. So we open in Dublin, 1838. A man, Daniel, is running through the streets. It's wintertime. He seems quite frightened, and his pursuer ends up catching up to him. And we see that it is a pre-sold angel, Angelus. Angel Angelus bites him, kills him, and Angel wakes up quite startled in his bed. It turns out he was dreaming. And we cut to a little bit later.
And who was it that was biting people and eat? What is that? Where's that coming from?
It's under my desk.
This happens almost every week. I don't understand.
Out here, maybe. What the hell?
I don't know. Like every week this happens.
Man,
and it's every time Angel shows up.
Yeah, it's weird. I wonder if he has anything to do with it.
Nah.
Then we cut to a little bit later, and Angel's walking through downtown Sunnydale, and there's a newscast on the TV in a store, which I always find this funny in TV shows, because now, mind you, this TV show was filmed and aired while you and I were still younger men, kind of still growing up a little bit. I was born in 81. You were born in 78. Tell me, Jeremy, growing up in the 80s and 90s, did you ever come across an electronics store with TVs playing in the window?
No. But I will say that if you went into a department store, an electronics section.
Oh yeah.
They would have their TVs all on something, playing something. But
oh yeah.
The TV in the window playing the current news, and that never happened.
Right. I've never seen that. And it dates back to older shows too, like shows our parents grew up watching. And so I don't know. I'll have to check with,
because that's when that kind of thing would happen.
I was going to say, I'll have to check with a boomer and see.
Yeah. But by the 90s, that was definitely not a thing.
Right. So it always makes me laugh when you see it in shows like pre-70 something.
Yeah.
Because it just wasn't
by
happening.
This time we're in, what are we in, 98 at this point?
Right.
I mean, this is the beginning of like internet cafes. And plus this is California, so there would have, internet cafes were popping up everywhere, especially in those really urban areas.
Right. I mean, this is the dawning of your big department, big box stores.
Yeah.
You don't have
Not
these
Smith and Sons Electronics,
right.
bodega.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And uh, it's a weather forecast on the TV, and the weatherman is saying that the temperatures are going to be in the high 70s for the holiday weekend. And fun fact, the weatherman is Mark Kriske, who was the morning uh, uh, weather person for KTLA, which was the Los Angeles WB affiliate.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say, okay, WB affiliate. Okay.
Yeah. And at that point, Angel runs into Buffy, and there's of course some sexy awkwardness. Um, and as they're talking, Angel sees Daniel, the young man we just saw Angelus murder in Angel's dream, standing behind Buffy off to a distance down the street. And of course, he's quite shocked and startled to see him standing there. And that is the end of our cold open.
And he runs away like screaming, like falsetto, like I'm
Yeah.
talking like a girl, and he's
Right.
like,
He's like, they're talking, and Angel's like,
yeah, pretty much just like that, except without the loud, without the loud sounds of a headset getting thrown.
the headset falling on the ground.
Yeah, yeah, but he does run scream. No, he doesn't. He doesn't at all.
No, he doesn't. He's clearly taken aback and shocked and dismayed at seeing this figure from his past so clearly standing in front of him in the present. And we cut to our credits. That's our cold open.
And when we come back, it's the next day, and Sunnydale. We're in Sunnydale High, and shit's kind of winding down for Christmas vacay. And I have to bring something up here. Okay, so Buffy's talking to the gang. Well, Willow and Xander, about the whole deal with Angel and everything, and they kind of make their way down. What did you call that area? You've given it a name where the benches are, like the couches.
Oh, I just refer to it as a lounge area.
Oh,
like
I could have swore you gave it like a funny name. Okay, so they're at this lounge area that never existed in any other school, but and they're the only ones ever there. They're heading towards that area as they're talking, and I noticed you had to have noticed also Willow's pants.
Oh yeah.
Oh my God, they were like, it was like they gave her, I don't know, Nicholas Brendan's pants for this scene. Like, I'm not like they're like 11-7 times too big for her. They look like these huge, and they're jeans, but they are enormous, like they poofy as hell.
Right.
And I just kept focusing on that, especially in the next scene. But go ahead.
I'm also going to point out, and I know we've talked about this before, and I haven't mentioned it in a while, and I know it's something that was happening even since the last time I talked about it up to when I'm going to talk about it now. But for some reason, I guess maybe I've been toning it out or whatnot, but it caught me this time, is just how loudly they discuss this shit,
everything
in front of other people. Like they're at who I think it's Willow's locker. Are they at when Xander walks up, and Xander's literally like, "Oh, Angel was acting all weird. I guess murdering and torturing,
murdering his girlfriend and then torturing him." Referring to Giles,
right? Will do that to somebody. And I was like, "What?" Like there is literally someone at the locker next to them,
and they didn't even blink and be like, "What? Say murder?"
Right.
Well, it is Sunny. I always chalk that stuff up to, well, it is Sunnydale.
Yeah, and I mean,
nothing is surprising to anyone in this town.
Right. Like I mean, in the like hindsight is 2020 thing, like I'm sure it's probably common knowledge that Mr. Giles the librarian's computer sciences teacher girlfriend was brutally murdered, like
inside the school.
right, but I guess like the idea that they're talking about how like they know the person that did it, and Buffy is it's just
I know.
I don't know.
But like I said, whenever they're doing this kind of thing, I always just say, well, it is Sunnydale.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Everybody, I mean, we've already learned that all the way up to the mayor is in on this whole deal. So it's like, well,
Yeah.
But anyway, they continue talking. They've made their way to the lounge at this point, and they run into Cordelia, and she's back to just old school Cordelia, snooty, snotty, shitty, Cordelia. And as she leaves, Willow does say, well, she does deserve to be this way. We can't really say anything,
Right.
And so I'm like, good on you, Willow. Whereas Xander's just like common douchey Xander. And but as they continue talking, Oz shows up, and of course Willow immediately perks up, and he wants to talk, and so they go into an empty classroom, and he stabs her and kills her.
He just brutally murders her.
And he's like, "Payback, motherfucker!"
Yeah,
and then he jumps out the window.
Yeah. It's and they were on like the upper level of the school, so he's dead too.
Oh yeah. Well, at the very least, his legs are like up to his knee, up to his fucking shoulder now. So.
Right. Oz is shorter than he previously was.
Yeah. Right. He was 4'11". Now he's 3'11". So he's like the smallest werewolf ever when he transformed. he's like a dachshund.
He's a cub.
But he looks like a dachshund as a werewolf. He's got these little stubby legs now.
Instead of howling, he's just like
yeah, he's like, he won't stop. Yeah, they have to like give him treats and stuff.
People think he's just a dog.
Yeah, they're just like, oh, what a cute dog, and he ripped her arm off. So they're talking in the classroom, and basically he's saying, he wants to give it another shot, that he's come around, that he misses her, but he knows that her and Xander, there's something there, that he's not sure that it'll ever go away completely and stuff, but he's willing to give it a shot, basically.
I, having not really remembered this episode outside of the confines of the main plot, I almost 100% thought we were going to get but you can't spend so much time around Xander.
Yeah, or like you can never see him ever again.
Right. Well, I don't think Oz would say she can never see him again, but I think he would lay down a little bit of an expectation that she can't spend as much time with him. But he doesn't.
No. Well, he's Oz, and he's like, "Oh, I got this."
Right.
He's like,
I'm way more pimp than Xander Harris.
Right.
His fucking middle name is Lavelle.
Yeah, and I'm not a fucking creepy fucking douchebag, so.
Right.
But so they hug, and that's where you can, because it's like a side shot of them, and that's where you can really see these giant fucking pillow pants, and it's just driving me crazy, man. And I'm like, please get out of this scene and get her out of these pants. I don't know what the fuck was going on here. So, oh, I forgot to mention, Cordy had told them all when they were at the lounge that she's going to Aspen for Christmas, and it must suck to be in Sweatydale, or to have to stay in Sweatydale, and yada yada. So, as I said, she's back to full on.
There was something, I don't know, maybe you were experiencing it too. There was something almost joyous about seeing the old Cordelia return.
Yeah, it really kind of was.
but at the same time, there was a little bit of like, oh, like you've grown so much though. Like, come
Well,
on, you're better than this, Cordy.
but I feel like she's just reverting to something,
That she was
reverting to her old way to make a shield, you know?
right, a time when she was comfortable and had far
Right.
less problems.
Before she had let her guard down and let these people in, and then they crushed her, you know?
Right, right.
So then we cut to Buffy and Mom, who are shopping for a Christmas tree. And they're talking, and Mom says, you know, why don't you invite Faith for Christmas Eve dinner? And Buffy's, you know, like, well, we don't really talk and yada yada. She guilt trips her. Mom does, and Buffy's like, fine, okay. And then she's like, well, what about Giles? I don't think he. And before she can even get it out, Mom's like, nope, no, fuck him, nope, he's not coming, no. And she's like, well, what? And then she's immediately like, he doesn't want to spend Christmas with a bunch of girls. We should split up. And she just turns around and walks off camera.
Yeah.
And I'm like, damn. And even Buffy's like,
What the
okay.
fuck?
Yeah, what the fuck? So, they have split up, and they're both looking in different places for a tree. And she walks over and sees this certain little area of trees. Like, this whole place is full of like nice, lush green trees. And she walks to this one little area, this kind of circular area where all the trees are dead. And the salesman comes up, and he's like, yeah, they all died right here in this area, and we don't know why. And then he's like, this just blew my mind. He's like, if you want one, I can make you a hell of a deal. And I'm
Right,
like, who the fuck is gonna buy a dead Christmas? Like, there's
This
like
isn't-
2 beetles, and they're dead as fuck.
right. This isn't the fucking Charlie Brown Christmas special here, pal. No one's buying
Even
that tree.
Brown wouldn't have bought one of these trees. He'd have been like, dude, they're fucking dead. Why even for a good deal, why would I want a dead tree? But anyway, we cut to Buffy visiting Faith in her really upscale motel, and Faith is beating the shit out of her television because it's not working. And as we all know, those old school TVs, CRT TVs, tube TVs, you just beat the shit out of them, and eventually the picture would pop back on. But it didn't. So Buffy comes in, and you know, it's kind of awkward, and she gives Faith the invite, and she's like, well, no thanks, I've got this big party to go to, and it's going to be super dope. And Buffy can tell, like, there's no party, you know, but
Right.
she's like, okay, well, you know, the offer's open if you change your mind. And Faith is like, yeah, but I got this cool party. And she's like, yeah, okay, well, I did what my mom wanted me to do, biatch, deuces. And she leaves. And then we cut to Angel in bed, furiously masturbating for some reason.
You forgot to mention the shrouded dudes performing the ritual.
Did we see them?
Yeah.
I didn't put it in my notes, so that's why I forgot. Where did it put them at?
So after the dude is like, hey, you know, they all died. I don't know why. I can cut you a hell of a deal or whatever he says. You hear Joyce call Buffy. She's like, oh, I found the perfect tree or whatever. And Buffy leaves, and we cut to, it's like burning candles, and I
completely missed this.
Yeah, there's a table with candles in the center, and like some artifacts or some shit around them, and there's 3 dudes in robes chanting, and the table and everything on it all start to float a couple times, and then you get a view.
I wonder if I had a momentary stroke during this.
And you get a view that's kind of like I want to say like up from like the table itself, and
Mhm.
you see that these dudes don't have any eyes.
Yeah,
Just
they're like sewn
they're
shut.
there's ruins branded over their eyes. Um, and then that's when we cut to the angel scene.
You know, sometimes this happens with you and I when we're doing this, and I start to wonder, are we seeing different versions of the episode? Like, how do you watch these episodes? Just out of curiosity.
On Hulu.
Hulu. Okay. Well, I have the complete DVD. Blah blah blah. And so I don't know. Maybe there's a chance that like because you know how like Highlander had the Euro minutes
The
versions of
Euro minutes,
episodes,
right?
and I don't
Right.
know. So because I have no recollection of that scene whatsoever.
Yeah. And then it cuts to Angel's bedroom where
Yeah, where he's furiously masturbating.
right in his sleep.
Some yeah, and for some reason he's using lighter fluid as and he catches on fire, but he keeps going because he's like, I've got to finish.
Right. But then so like he's on fire and he's going at it, and then
Yeah.
he lets out a scream and just bursts into dust.
Yeah, and
So we
that's
don't
how he climaxes. He
well
dusts.
we don't know. Did he dust first? Did he climax first? Did he dust and
Maybe at the
climax at
same
the same
time.
time?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or maybe the climax was so powerful that it actually dusted him.
Right.
I mean, who knows?
Right. No, we cut to Angel and he's having apparently another dream because he wakes up uh gasping and heavy breathing, and he's clearly he's scared. Um, you know, and he kind of realizes it's only a dream. And then in my notes, that's when it cuts to Buffy and Faith at the hotel room.
Oh. Well, now that part I could have just screwed that up in my note taking. But and sometimes I combine stuff
Yeah.
for the purpose of just
Well, and sometimes like this stuff is happening like almost at the same time.
like intercut and
Like
stuff. And
back and
sometimes
forth.
I combine things just in the interest of
Right.
moving forward in a reasonable pace.
Yeah.
Yeah, so um yeah, there's some stuff right here that I've combined. I can tell just by reading it because now we cut to Giles cooking in his kitchen, and he gets a knock at his door, and he's like, "Yo, hold up!" And he goes to the door and opens it, and it's Angel. And he's like, "Wow, you got some fucking balls on you showing up here." Basically, is what he says.
He does. Like
And,
it's a really good scene. Like Angel says he's sorry, and Giles literally starts to laugh, and
yeah,
he's like, and Giles is like, I'm sorry, but I'm sorry coming from you is pretty fucking funny.
yeah. And then Angel's like, "I need your help," and he's like, "And the funny continues."
Right. But
And
then and I don't. This is very smart, and I don't necessarily know that they intended it this way, but Angel tells him, I need your help, and you're the only one. And it almost seems to me like it's deliberate. Like he knows that Giles is like, I don't want to say Giles has an ego, but that like intellectual side of Giles, like that's the way to get to him. Like I need your help, and you're the only one that can help me. Giles isn't going to say no to that.
right. And when he says you're the only one, Giles is like, "You're the only one." And then they just fucking embrace and start French kissing and
Right.
grabbing each other's asses and stuff. Yeah, it's a hot scene. Wow. No,
I like how I try to go a little deep with it, and then you just turn it into porn.
yeah, exactly. That's pretty much what I do. That's really my only talent in life. So they so Giles is like, he's like, okay, and he turns and walks away out of screen, you know, and the door's still open, and Angel's just standing there, and he's like, I can't come in unless you invite me. And then Giles shows back up, and he's got a loaded crossbow pointed at him. He's like, I'm well aware of that. And he's like, come on in. So Angel comes in, and of course Giles is holding a crossbow on him. And so Angel's basically like, you know, I'm having these dreams, blah, 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 blah. All this shit's fucking me up. And I need to know why am I back? How did I get back here? You know, why did I get back here? I should be in a hell dimension, suffering an eternity of torment and blah, blah, blah. And then he sees Miss Calendar standing behind Giles. And he's like, and it just really fucks him up. And he's like, and he actually does run out of Giles' house this time, just like freaking the fuck out. And Giles is like, what the fuck? He's like,
I don't know if they did it deliberately for the reasons I'm about to state, or if they were just like, hey, maybe we can get Robia back for a cameo or what. But I think having the main manifestation of this be the most recent terrible kill of Angelus was a stroke of like, it's brilliant.
Yeah.
Like, it's great. Say whatever you want to say about He Who Shall Not Be Named, but it was a brilliant idea to use Jenny Calendar as the manifestation of whatever's going on in Angel's head.
Yeah, because I mean, it makes a big fucking impact, like you said. She was such a big part of the show, and he just, when he became Angelus, he just fucking nonchalantly fucking offed her, and
it's
a big thing.
And I think from a storytelling perspective, it makes so much sense that the main manifestation of whatever he's seeing and going on would be the most relevant horrible thing he did in the current iteration of his life. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
The way I'm saying it, good.
Yeah, I agree. 100%.
So I'm 100%.
She was definitely the most powerful, you know, manifestation they could have used.
Right.
Absolutely, because it was the most shocking and brutal kill we saw last season. And it was, but
I'm not talking about just from an audience standpoint. 100% from an audience standpoint. Yes.
Oh yeah, but you're saying from the character Angel's,
right?
Yeah, and again, absolutely, because that is probably the one murder of everything he did, seen or unseen, when he was Angelus, that's probably fucking haunts the shit out of him.
Right.
So yeah, absolutely.
Outside of that gypsy tart.
Yeah, outside of that gypsy hua. Yeah. So then we cut to, we're back apparently in Dublin, around that same era as when he was chasing the young lad at the beginning of the episode. And here he is basically Harvey Weinsteining this maid named Margaret.
He's Joss Whedoning Margaret.
Basically, yes. And she's trying desperately, like they're in the middle of this party, and she's one of the housemaids, and he's got her cornered, and you know there's people everywhere, and he's just straight up Joss Whedoning her, and you know, finally he's like, go ahead and make a scene, then it'll cost you your life. And she's got a little boy, and she's like, we can't be out on the streets and yada yada. And then he just vamp faces right there in this party and eats.
Yeah. I mean, they are like underneath a little bit of a stairwell, but it's not much covering.
Right. And like, after he gets done eating her, he's just going to drop the body and no one's going to notice it as he walks away, napkining away the blood from his face, you know?
Right.
and she's like, no, my son. And he's like, oh, he'll make a good dessert. And I was like, wow, okay. So I don't know. That was just kind of strange to me. But right as he's finishing her off in this dream, eating this maid, he looks up and he sees Buffy. Buffy is in his dream, and he's like, "Blah!" And it like shocks him awake. And then we cut to Buffy, who jerks awake. So, they're sharing. Well, at least she's in his dreams, and she's aware of it, and he's aware of it, and it's like, what the fuck is happening?
Yeah.
And so she immediately goes to the mansion where he's living and stakes him because that's too much. And
she's like, no, we're not doing this. And
we're not doing this. And so she just stakes him immediately, and the episode ends. Problem solved. No, so Buffy goes to Giles, of course, immediately, and she's just like, we got to figure this shit out because we can't be doing cameos in each other's fucking dreams, And he's like, by the way, cameo, how much are you charging for that? And she's like, $2.50. And he's like, oh, see, I'm only doing $1.25. He's like, man, you got to raise that up, Anthony. And no, sorry. So Xander comes in, and he's kind of overheard the last bit of this, and he's like, he's like, well, we gotta figure this shit out. And then he actually has a good little moment here. It's brief, but he says to Buffy, he's like, hey, I know I'm not the best friend in the world when it comes to Angel,
at all.
Or just, yeah, he should just said, I know I'm a horrible human being who should have been killed off in this show, but
I should have died instead of Jesse. In season 1.
I should have died instead of Miss Calendar. Let's be honest. Miss Calendar would have been a much better member of the Scooby Gang than useless Xander. And he's like, but you're my friend and I want to help and blah blah blah. So yeah. So then
I didn't like that scene. I know it was supposed to be like this like,
it was weak. It was very weak.
Right, and it was supposed to be like this, big, oh, Xander's really a good friend kind of moment, like, no, like, I don't buy. I'm sorry.
Yeah, there's nothing, like, he's done so much that there's no words he can say in this brief little 15-second conversation where you're like, oh, he's okay.
Right. There's nothing.
Oh, he's a massive piece of shit.
Right. There's nothing Xander can do or say to ever make amends.
Think about, like, he ruined Willow's fucking relationship. He ruined his
Willow had a hand in that.
But I don't know. He seemed like the aggressor to me. In a lot of those encounters.
It could just be like the disdain for Xander as a character up to that point and the love of Willow. But I'm with you. I 100% blame him way more than I blame Willow.
Yeah, because she's like this little, innocent virgin girl, and he just comes off as this fucking Harvey Weinstein. And
I think a big part of that, the blaming him more than Willow for the situation, is the fact that since day one and beyond what we know as day one, Willow's had a thing for him, and he's right, and he's known it, and he's never done anything about it, or never actively tried to dissuade it, even though he didn't pursue it. And then as soon as they're both in really like decent relationships with good people, he's fucking like, no, I want that now.
Yeah, because he's a spoiled piece of shit. Right. And he's like, yeah, I want my cake and eat it too.
Right.
He's like, I have Cordelia fucking Chase.
Right.
But that's not good enough for me. Right. I need to sample other people's fucking finger food, I don't know. I hate Xander so much.
And that's been another episode of James and Jeremy hate Xander Lavelle Harris.
We need to have a little jingle for that we that I play before we start fucking ragging on Xander.
Jeremy and James hate Xander. We'll record that during the hiatus. We'll bring it in after the hiatus.
Yeah, yeah. And this has been our Jeremy and James hate Xander moment. Da-da-da. And we'll play that the more you know at the end of it.
Or the G.I. Joe knowing is half the battle.
Yeah, and knowing is half the battle against Xander Lavelle Harris. So then Willow shows up and she's like, "Hey guys, what are you doing?" And they're like, "Oh, we're about to do some serious research." So we have a little montage of them all in the library there, for what seems to be many, many, many hours. Because it goes all the way through the night and into the next day. You see a part where Xander has gone out and got a pizza and brought it back, and they're eating pizza, and there's just fucking books everywhere. They're searching everywhere they can to figure out what the hell's going on. And so it's the next or wait a minute. I think I combined too much shit here and I fucked myself up. Long story short, there's no real results from this all-nighter. They're really still kind of at fucking square one. And Willow and Buffy are sitting and talking, and she's like, Willow's like, I really got to come up with a way to let Oz know that, I'm truly sorry and yada yada, and
that he comes first.
Right, that he comes first. And Buffy's got a good line here. Well, I should say Sarah's got a good line here where she says, well, Xander, part of the problem is that Xander has a part of you that Oz can never touch. And because that little line really goes into what happens later, what Willow tries to do later. Because Willow's like, yeah, you're right. And she's like, what do you think? A hand job under the fucking bleachers? Think that'll fix things?
And Buffy's like, I don't know. You might want to give him a blowy.
Yeah, she's like, even a blowy you might want to go, full tilt. And
right. Anal.
Willow's what the fuck? You say I take shit to the next level. You skipped like 4 rungs there and went right to the top of the ladder. You're about to fall off. So we cut to Angel, who again is unable to sleep and has another vision of Jenny. And she's basically become corporeal at this point because she's able to touch him and shit. And I'm like, wait, so are we incorporeal or are we corporeal here? Like, I don't know. It's I don't think they ever decided. And so he's like, basically, he's losing his fucking mind at this point, and she's saying all this shit to fuck with him, talking about how he's literally the most evil creature that ever fucking lived. Like, and even when he was a man, he was like, because at one point he says, well, that wasn't me, that was the demon, the vampire in me. And he's like, when I was a man, and she's like, yeah, when you were a man, what? And she's like, you were just a drunken, carousing layabout, whose family was fucking disappointed in you. You were useless piece of shit guy, and then you were the most hideous fucking evil vampire demon that ever fucking roamed. And he kind of knows that that's true. And so at one point he just like lays down and like curls up in the fetal position, and Miss Calendar, or this thing who's looking like Miss Calendar, is just like cuddling him and stroking him, and she's like, it's okay. I don't want to hurt you. I just want you to understand the truth that that of what you are. And yada yada. It's a very strange scene, to say the least.
I mean, I liked it. I liked how
No, I liked it. It was just very
I liked how they cycled through like there was just that random dude in the suit who was like
Yeah. Oh,
talking to angels, and he's like,
just another. It was another victim.
right, and like
Yeah.
we find out that Angelus murdered this guy's family, including
Entire
his
fucking
kids,
family. Yeah.
and posed them like they were kind of like he did with Jenny, like they were just sleeping.
Mm-hmm.
And this guy's like, he basically says something to the effect, he's like, at first I wondered what kind of monster would do this, and then he's like, and then I realized it was art to you,
Mm-hmm.
like it was, and like
Yeah.
I liked it, and then it cycles through, he becomes Daniel and Margaret, and you know you know and then
Back
finally,
calendar.
like finally finishes at Jenny, and like you said, just kind of going through all this, like, even before you were a monster, you were worthless,
Yeah.
you
Basically,
were
just he was a
you were
Harvey Weinstein before he was a
right,
monster.
like you were the worst of the worst, even as a human, like
And he's like, but I. And then he says, I never had a chance. And she's like, what? A chance to die of syphilis?
right,
Like that's all you were
right,
gonna do, if you had not become a vampire.
yeah.
And
We I'll pick it up for a little bit here.
go ahead.
We we see the library and everyone's still researching, but we see that Buffy's dozed off and is sleeping, and we cut back to the mansion and we see that Angel's also fallen asleep, and we then are taken into the mutual dream that they're having, and in that dream they are fucking, and that is not a joke, people.
No,
they're
that's not us. Yeah, they are having some hot and heavy fucky town.
they are engaged in very adult activities.
Yes.
It's very hot.
Like this is it's definitely Skinamax at this point.
Yeah. And as they're copulating,
And it's probably anal,
um
as you said.
An- Angel we see Angel vamp out and bite Buffy. Uh at which point um he wakes up, and there's this thing as Jenny further encouraging him to
And
go
she's
to
filming
Buffy.
this all with like a camcorder, and he's like, the fuck?
Right. Um, Further encouraging him to go to Buffy and lose himself in her, and be who he's meant to be and kill her. And she tells him that is why they brought him back after all.
Yeah, so this is the first time that they have that this whatever because we don't know yet what this is.
Right.
This entity has claimed um
Responsibility
for bringing Angel back from the hell dimension.
And we come back to the library and we find out that Giles has uncovered some accounts of the first evil, and he thinks that that's probably what brought Angel back and is tormenting him now. And Buffy says she had another dream with Angel in it, and uh, they don't. Giles asks what happened, and Buffy doesn't tell him.
She just stares at him for a minute. And she goes, "Well, let's not get lost in details."
Yeah. At that point, Giles shows her a drawing of the. It is a drawing, right? It's not.
It's a
Yes,
drawing he did with a crayon, and it's really interesting.
Shows her a drawing of the bringers, or harpingers, as he says. They're high priests of the first who have the power to conjure spirit manifestations, and the picture is, of course, that looks like the dude we saw doing the chanting and everything earlier.
Yeah.
So Giles says she can't fight the first because the first isn't a physical thing, and um, she of course points out that she can fight these harbinger guys, and we end up at Willie's bar with Xander and Buffy, and Xander is trying to intimidate Willie, and Willie ends up telling them that something's been scaring off everything that lives underground in Sunnydale. So it's possible that these Harbinger dudes are living underground. And I like this that as they're getting ready to leave, Willie tells Xander that he did a good job of intimidating him,
Yeah.
and
Now,
Xander's all like, "Oh, really? Like, thanks,
yeah, he's all giddy like a little fucking dork that he is. Um, I I found the whole reveal of where they might be to be a little anticlimactic because it's like everything that comes to Sunnydale that's bad is underground.
Yeah, kind of.
Like that would be the first fucking play. I'd be like, well, they got to be fucking
Right.
under every goddamn thing around here that's
Right.
trying to kill us is underground somewhere. So let's just start there. We'll probably fucking find them.
Right. I almost felt like, as good a writer as He Who Shall Not Be Named is, regardless of whatever else he's said or done or whatever.
Mhm.
I feel like the whole Willie thing was just like he didn't know how to bring Buffy and the gang and the Bringers together. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, well, I've always
So it was
that,
more like, well, we'll bring back Willie the Snitch.
yeah. Well, I've also always found that, like you said, as good of a writer as he is and everything, there are times that he seems to get a little lazy and seems to get stuck in a loop, like use the same kind of show cliches again and again and again, to move things forward.
Right.
And
that's what I feel like happened here. I feel like he didn't have a solid way to bridge, Buffy and the first or whatever, or and and it was just like, well, we'll bring back Willie the Snitch. Well, that'll take care of it. And to me, that was a little lazy.
Yeah, it was very lazy because there were so many other, ways that could have been bridged together.
Right.
Like
100%.
I said, he tends to get lazy.
Right. So they leave Willie's bar and they're back out in Sunnydale complaining about the heat, and they're also not happy about how much underground there is to cover in Sunnydale. And then we cut to Willow's house. We found out earlier in the episode that Willow's parents are out of town.
And that Oz was going to be coming over and they were going to watch videos,
right.
Which we also failed to mention. Basically, I failed to mention. There were several times where they would ask, the gang would ask Willow, what are you doing for Christmas? And she's like, hello, Jewish.
Yeah, she's
not doing Christmas.
She really was really hammering home the Jewish thing in this episode.
Yeah, and so yeah, the whole idea is that her parents are going to be out of town, and that as their first get back together date, Oz is coming over to her house, and they're going to watch videos.
Right, and that's where we are now. And Oz shows up with the videos, and Willow answers the door, or no, he walks in, and
he just straight walks in, but like it's his house.
Right, he's like,
"Yo, Willow, I got the videos."
Right, and he walks into the living room, and the lights are turned down low. There's candles everywhere, and there's some Barry White playing, and Willow is draped across the couch in as sexy a manner as little Willow Rosenberg can manage.
Mm-hmm.
In a very, she looks amazing. I mean,
I've always loved her.
Right. Yeah, she's like dressed to the nines. And
he's immediately like, oh fuck.
Did you notice there was soda in the ice bucket?
Yeah. I mean, it's Willow. Let's not get ridiculous.
Right. So Oz sits down and he's clearly I don't he's uncomfortable
Oh yeah.
Like,
Oh yeah.
and just like, I'm like, this is the,
He knows
and,
what's happening, and he's like,
um, so they're talking, and Willow tells him that she's ready to, she says, do the thing.
yeah.
And, uh, Oz is like, he stands up, and then he's like, okay, we need to sit down again. And Willow keeps insisting that she's ready, and Oz says that he's not. And, he reassures her, she's like, you look amazing, and, you've got the candles and the Barry Manilow going, and he's like,
White.
Barry White going, and he's like, now I'm
Barry
imagining,
Manilow.
now I'm imagining Mandy playing in the background, or Copacabana.
At the Copa.
Copacabana. Um, what's funny though, because on our spin-off show, uh,
Mm-hmm.
uh, Mandy does become a big part of, well,
Mm-hmm.
not a big part of it, but plays a significant.
Well, and so does, if you think really hard, so does Copacabana.
Yeah,
That's a
Barry
song
Manilow.
that is
Yeah,
sung for a certain character.
I can't wait till we get to Angel.
Oh, I know.
Um, uh, see, he's reassuring her, and he's like, uh, he's basically, it's not that I don't want to, but when we do it, he wants it to be because they're both ready, and they're both doing it for the same reason, and not just because she's trying to prove something to him.
She's trying to give him a piece that Xander
Right.
does. I mean, because as Buffy had said, Xander has a piece of you Oz can never touch, and she's trying to give Oz a piece that Xander could never touch.
Right. But
See
yeah,
how I'm doing all them thinkings?
right. Good on you this week. But yeah, he's like, just not just because you're trying to prove something to me, you don't have anything to prove. And then we cut to the Summers home, and Joyce is throwing a log on the fire, despite it being like 175 degrees outside.
Yeah, because it's it's Southern California, so it's like 198 degrees in the shade, and she's building a fire. And even Buffy said, what does Buffy say? She says something, and then Joyce is like, maybe we should turn the air conditioning on.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
and Buffy is trimming the tree. Not a metaphor. She's actually putting decorations on the Christmas tree.
She's in the living room shaving her beard.
And the doorbell rings, and they both look a little confused, and Buffy goes and gets it, and
it's Spike, and he immediately kills her.
And he immediately murders Buffy, and then he uses Buffy's limp body to beat Joyce to death.
To death, yes. Slowly. He like breaks each bone one at a time.
Right. No, it's Faith, and she says her party was a drag. Her party was a drag. The party that was clearly never happening in the first place.
Yeah.
And she has a couple gifts for Joyce and Buffy, and Buffy goes up to her room to get.
And she says 2 different times they're crappy gifts.
Yeah, she's like, they're crappy.
She says this twice, and she hands them to Joyce, and she's like, they're crappy. And Joyce is like, oh, how thoughtful. Yeah. And I'm like, is it? It looks like the one for Joyce is a dildo. Really? If you look, and the other one's like a magazine or something for Buffy. I don't know what the hell. He's like, here, you need this.
Buffy runs up to her room to get their presents for Faith, and Angel's there, and he's very out of it. Like, he's nervous, and he's jittery, and he keeps staring at her neck.
By the way, just really quick, I know this is off topic. I wanted to ask you this last week and I forgot. From now on, when Faith shows up, should we play a song for her? Like, because I got to have faith. Should we make that a thing?
We can we'll discuss off
Okay.
camera.
Okay.
Off
Okay.
camera.
I had to bring it up now before I forgot, though.
Where was I? Oh, yeah, he's nervous, he's jittery. He's almost like an addict, like
Yeah,
coming
he
down
looked like
off
a
of
meth head dude
like
that comes up to you and
withdrawal.
asks for change, or do you want to buy a VCR?
Right. Can I wash your windows? Can I wash your windows? No, you can't wash my
Can I borrow
windows.
your microwave?
Um, and we see that the manifestation of Jenny is there with him. Of course, Buffy can't see it.
And she's
And
behind you, like making funny fucking faces and shit.
like doing the bunny ears, like
yeah. And Angel's like, I can't concentrate.
And she's still encouraging Angel to, taste Buffy and lose himself in her. And
Which wasn't there a time when he was Angelus? Didn't he bite her one time? I'm almost sure he did.
No,
I mean,
he has
kill her, but
no, he hasn't bitten her yet.
Okay.
Yet.
Okay.
So Angel then tells Buffy that she has to stay away from him, and Buffy's like fucking like wigged out, and she's like, you came here to see me, to tell me you can't see me, like what the fuck, like.
And he's all itching and scratching. He's like, I don't know, I piece of crack.
She's clearly as concerned as she is confused, because she doesn't know what the hell's going on with him, and he's definitely like on his way to Waxville.
Yeah.
And then he proceeds to run past her and jump out the fucking window.
Jump out. He's holding his head with like both hands, like pulling his hair, and he's like, ah! And I'm not making that up. He's like, I gotta get out of here. And he runs and just throws himself out the fucking window.
Like,
and she just looks at it like, did that just happen?
And it's funny because reading this scene in my notes and talking about it, like, it seems like such a funny scene to talk about or to read about, but watching it, like, it's such a good scene watching it.
Yeah, it is. It's a good scene.
It's very powerful. Like, they're both great in it. We've talked about this.
They always kill it.
Their chemistry together is phenomenal. And they're always killing it, especially when they're in scenes together.
You can always count on those two to kill their scenes.
Right.
Those two and Allison Hannigan, like I feel like they never phone anything in. And Anthony, he doesn't phone anything in. Xander and Brendan, he's phoned some shit in.
Right. He jumps out the window.
And she just looks for a minute, like with this look on her face, like, did that just happen?
Yeah, like she's very
confused. Like, what the hell?
So then we see her leaving. She tells Faith to stay there with Joyce in case Angel comes back. And we cut.
And Faith's like, wait, this is the first episode I've been in like 7 episodes. Can't I do something? And she's like, no, you wait here and protect my mom. And she's like, fuck, okay.
Right. So then we cut to Buffy and Giles. And they're in the library. And Buffy's of course like, we have to do something. We're gonna lose him, yada yada. And Giles it basically is like, if he does, go off the deep end, you will have to kill him again. And then we cut to the mansion.
Which is the most sensible thing. I mean,
right. We cut back to the mansion, and the First is still trying to push Angel to kill Buffy, and he's, of course, I won't hurt her. I'll die first. And, the First tells him he's not strong enough to kill himself. And he says, I don't need strength. I just need the sun to rise. And he proceeds to walk outside. And the First says, well, this wasn't the plan. but it'll do.
Yeah.
So it looks like whatever this is, the first, regardless of whether it actually is responsible for Angel coming back from the hell dimension, his plan wasn't for him to kill Buffy. His plan was for Angel to die for some reason.
Yeah.
Is my take on it.
My take is that the plan was to use him to kill Buffy, but that he wasn't supposed to die until that was taken care of.
But I mean, if that was the case, then this line doesn't make any sense whatsoever. Like, well, this wasn't the plan, but it'll do.
Yeah, like, well, no, what the line is actually, the one says, "You're not supposed to die yet, but this will do."
Okay. So yeah. Okay. So
Like,
yeah,
I think the plan was
the plan
off
was
Buffy, then
right.
off Angel.
Right. Have him turn evil again, off Buffy, and then somehow off Angel. Okay, I could see that.
Yeah.
So and then he exits the mansion. The first
Throws himself out another window.
Its little line.
That's his new thing. Every time he leaves, he throws
He
himself
just jumps out a window. And we cut back to Giles at the library, and he's found a book that says nothing can grow above or below the Harbingers. And Buffy immediately thinks back to the dead Christmas trees at the Christmas tree lot. And of course, she goes there and does she dig a hole?
Couldn't that have just been a bad batch of trees that happened to die? And she gets there and she's like, "Fuck, there's nothing underneath this."
Could have been
Because you know what I mean.
She gets there, and does she dig herself a hole, Jeremy?
Well, she uses an axe.
No, exactly. She doesn't dig herself a hole,
and she hits a hollow. I'm like, wait a minute! Just walking over this, people would have it was like a sinkhole. Like people would have just fell through it.
It's like maybe a foot and a half, if that, of earth that she axes her way through,
and then she just jumps down in the perfectly made hole,
and then jumps down into.
Without looking like, what the fuck is? No, I'm just gonna jump on down. It could have been like a 900-foot drop, and she could have fell and been like fucking Oz with tiny little legs.
So yeah, she axes herself a hole into the ground and then jumps in, and the Harbingers are in fact down there.
They're in this little creepy cave that has, Pier 1 import candles burning. And I'm like, where the fuck did the candles come? Which one of these creepy fuckers went to the candle store and was like, went to Target and was like, yes, I'll take these candles,
Yeah, they're there doing their little chanty chants.
Yeah.
And Buffy begins to fuck their shit up.
Yeah,
there's no two ways around that.
Or what's that line she says? She goes, "Okay, kids, 10 more minutes of chanting, and then you have to go to bed."
Yeah.
And then she just starts beating the shit out of these guys. Can't do anything because they can't fucking see.
Right. At that point, the first reveals itself, and introduces itself to Buffy as the first evil, and gives this little speech about how it's everywhere and everything and unable to be fought. And it then proceeds to morph into like this giant like smoke demon thing.
Yeah.
And then dissipates.
Looks kind of like Smaug from The Hobbit.
And then and like I said, it tells Buffy that Angel will be dead by sunrise, and then it disappears.
Yeah.
And that's the last we see of it.
Well, is it though? Okay, sorry.
It's the last we see of the first.
Yeah, it never is mentioned again. Ever.
At least for 3 more seasons.
Yeah. Actually, I think we'll talk about it at the end here, but I think there's little times where it's unnamed but kind of comes back.
But there.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So Buffy takes off and she goes to the mansion, and Angel's not there, but she looks out and sees Angel standing on uh, a hill. Because the mansion's already on a hill in
Right.
Sunnydale.
He's standing above the crevasse.
Right. So he's looking out over Sunnydale. And
he's masturbating for some reason while he's watching all the houses.
I almost had you pull this entire scene because I love this entire scene.
I almost pulled it, but I had already deleted the episode after I watched it. And I was like, I'm not ripping it again just to pull the clip. No, this is a stellar scene.
So he's up on the hilltop waiting for the sun to rise, and Buffy goes to him and she's like, you have to come inside. There's only a few minutes left. And he's like, I know. And, Buffy's like, it doesn't matter what the first told you, you can fight it. And, he basically admits that, as much as he fought it, there was a part of him that wanted to listen to the first, and he wanted to give in to that part of him and lose himself in her, lose his soul in her again, and be with her, even though he knew it would cost him his soul. And Buffy's telling him that he has the power to do real good and to make amends for what he's done in his past, and he's telling her to go, and he's asking her, just this one time, let me be strong, let me do what I need to do. And she refuses to go, and he hits her. I don't know that he hits her, but he knocks her down.
No, he straight up hits her.
Did he hit her? Okay.
Oh yeah. It's like,
and,
wow. There's a big thing about abusive relationships in the
yeah. And he walks over and he grabs her and he shakes her a little bit, and he's like, gets in her face, and he asks her, he's like, what does he say? He's like, am I a good person? Am I a righteous man?
Yeah, exactly.
Basically, do I deserve to live even?
Right. And she's like, no, you don't, come to think of it. So she leaves and lets him burn.
And she's crying, and she tells him that she loves him, and she hates how hard it is, and she wishes that she could wish him dead, but she doesn't. And he's like, just let me be strong just this once. And she, of course, counters with that being strong is fighting. And at that point, they both notice that it's snowing. And we hear the weather man from the beginning of the episode. He's like, it's the first time it's ever snowed in Sunnydale, and temperatures are gonna only be in the 30s, and the sun wasn't gonna be out because of all the cloud coverage. And Angel's saved. There's no sun. And we cut to Oz and Willow seeing the snow falling, and they're in Willow's bedroom. So I gotta wonder.
And she's in different clothes.
So I gotta wonder.
Mm-hmm. And he smoked a cigarette, so
And the most obvious clue, he's not wearing any pants.
Yeah, he's completely nude from the waist down. He has his shirt and everything on, but yeah.
Right. And there's 2 used condom wrappers on this dresser. So
and his dick is glued to his leg.
And then we cut to Joyce and Faith, and they see the snow, and they go out onto the front porch to watch. And we cut to Giles at his apartment, and he looks out his window, and
as he's freebasing a rock. He's like, God, this is the only way I can get through my days.
Why doesn't the Watchers Council respect me more?
Freebasing.
And then
And then he's self-flagellating. Poor
and
John.
we cut to Xander sleeping in his backyard and
In a sleep bag.
in a sleeping bag, and the snow's falling, and he's kind of brushing away, and then he covers up, and then he uncovers, kind of realizing that it's snow, and well, I'm sorry, that's when the weatherman on the TV says, is sudden cold front in Sunnydale, and it's snowing for the first time ever, and there's not any sun expected at all that day. And we see,
what you think every vampire in town would be out like
right,
him right now?
and we see Buffy and Angel walking through the town center, town square,
Hand in hand.
snow-covered streets, hand in hand.
So much for the we can't see each other anymore. I'm leaving and never coming. That lasted literally one episode.
And that is the end of our episode.
It is the end of our episode, James.
It is. Let's do a little monsterology here. The first, so obviously, it's a creation of our writers, but I think this kind of probably goes without saying. The idea of your protagonists being haunted by their past through visions or ghosts or whatever. It's a storytelling mechanism that's probably as old as time. You've got Macbeth, A Christmas Carol, and now Amends. So that's obviously a huge influence here for the episode overall, and the first. Our body count this episode is only 4.
Only. Yep. Too bad Joyce was in there.
Our music this week, Can't Get Enough of Your Love, Babe, performed by Barry White from the album Can't Get Enough, released by Polygram Records in 1974.
There has been so much sex to that song over the years.
Canon in D major, as composed by Johann Bachebel, and released sometime in the 1700s. That's the song that's playing in Angel's Dream flashback.
Was that also Polygram Records? Also,
no. It's the, like I said, it's the song that's playing in Angel's Dream when he's Joss Whedoning Margaret.
Yeah.
And of course,
poor Margaret. She had a son and everything.
Right. And of course, as always, our original score composed by series composer Christoph Beck. Jeremy.
Yes.
Will you give me your final thoughts and your rating on this episode? Tell me how many magic snowfalls you're giving this episode.
This is a 5, baby. This is a 5 magic snowfalls.
I just, before you go on, this is a perfect example to anyone new listening or who hasn't been listening for a while of how we will review an episode, and we will at times tear it apart. We will make fun of it. We will do our own side jokes about it. But then we will turn around and we will give that episode the highest of our high scores, because regardless of our review or whatnot, you cannot change the fact that it is a damn good episode, the top of the episode pile, so to speak. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, it is. It's the best of the best. This is Buffy the Vampire Slayer, the show at its best. Just the last 6 minutes or so of the episode makes it a fucking 5. Not to mention all the other good juicy shit that happened, in the rest of the 40 some minutes. I mean, it's spectacular. There were no egregious, other than little things we like to poke fun at, like you said, and right. like her pillow pants and whatnot. No, there's things that we get not resolution. We kind of get resolution to the Willow and Oz relationship. They're back together, right, which we're all happy about.
We're happy to see. Yes, we love
Xander is still miserable, which we're all happy about.
we love to see a miserable Xander Harris.
Yes. It's just it's everything. It's the only thing it was missing was I would have liked to see Principal Snyder just because I love Armin Shimmerman. But yeah, it's just when you think back on it, a lot of the episodes that have been given 5s have been written by He Who Must Not Be Named.
Right.
Which makes sense. I mean, it is his baby.
Right. It was his sandbox.
Yeah. But it's fucking fantastic. I mean, SMG and Boreanaz once again way outkick the coverage. It's they're masters at their craft, and so is Allison Hannigan. Everybody is, because even Nicholas Brendan can knock it out of the park when he wants to.
Right. Right.
He didn't really have the meat to chew on in this episode, but
right.
There's nothing that can be negatively said about this episode. It's great. It's definitely a must watch. It definitely has to go in the must watch stack if you're trying to introduce someone to the show. There's probably some episodes you need to show them first so that they'd understand what the fuck is going on and everything. But yeah, this is a must watch. And hey, you know me, man. I'm kind of stingy with my 5s.
Right.
And if I give something a 5, yeah, if I think it's a 5, you guys will probably think it's a 10. So definitely. It's a must watch. And that's all I got to say about that. James.
Yes, sir.
Give us your final thoughts and your rating out of a possible 5 of giant poofy pillow pants.
We are on the same page here, my man. This gets 5 poofy pillow pants.
Okay.
I love this episode. It is just like you said. It is Buffy at its finest, emotionally, dramatically, the writing, the directing, the cast. I mean, listen, this show and episodes of this show that He Who Shall Not Be Named in are heavily involved in are kind of a perfect example of why you need to separate the artist and the art, as hard as it can be sometimes for people. And like listen, if Joss Whedon dropped dead tomorrow, would I care? No. The guy's a scumbag. He did horrible things to people on this show, on its sister show, movies he's done.
Everything he's ever touched, yeah.
Like, the guy's trash. The guy is trash. Okay?
But you can't deny his genius.
But this show is so good, and the episodes that he is heavily involved in writing, directing, are the cream of the crop of these episodes. And I think as the series progresses, you do get a little more separation, where those 5 episodes aren't necessarily him writing and directing. You know, you get Drew Goddard and Marty Noxon
and we've had some 5s from other people.
Right. And whatnot. Those big names amongst the fans of the show really stepping up and kind of pushing Joss aside, so to speak, and being like, no, this is our baby now.
Yeah, well, yeah, because people have started to learn the sandbox, I believe.
Right.
Like,
but yeah, this is a 5. Like you said, there's nothing egregious about this. There's the minor things we talked about, you know, that brief Xander scene where we were supposed to be all like, oh, look what a good friend Xander is. No.
Because Joss does not know how to write that. Because he can't be that. You know?
Right, exactly. Like, it'd
be like a serial killer trying to write a scene about empathy.
Right. It's when I will say this about the episodes that Joss writes. When Joss writes an episode, it is very evident in hindsight that Xander is the Joss insert character into the world
He
that he's
said that
created.
himself.
Right.
Yeah.
But at the time, it wasn't. I mean,
Yeah,
he
it
said that
wasn't
since
known.
the show, right?
Yeah.
You know, at the time, it wasn't widely known that,
Yeah.
but since the show has ended and everything, he's said that, yes.
At least he wrote himself as a proper douchebag.
Right. But ironically, not realizing that that's what he was doing, probably.
Exactly.
But yeah, like you know, we said it while reviewing. You said it in your final thoughts. Sarah, David, Allison, like they all hit it out of the park this episode.
Seth Green also.
Anthony, Seth, like you said, you know, hate him as we do as a person, Nicholas Brendan. Um, when he does get something to really sink his teeth on in this show, he does a great job. Like, unfortunately,
His tooth. Sink his tooth. He's like he only has
just
one.
the one right in the middle.
I'm gonna sink my tooth into that.
There's some meat on this bone. I'm gonna act the fuck out of this thing.
I sunk my tooth into that.
Right. No, as much as I'll say in the same vein as Joss, as much as Nicholas Brendan is a douche in real life, as much as we may not like the character of Xander, when he does have the opportunity to really sink his teeth into something on this show, he does. He didn't have that chance in this episode, unfortunately.
No, there wasn't enough room, you know.
Right. It was great to see Robia back, kind of doing something different from Jenny. I'm sad that this is the last time we'll see her for the duration of the rest of the Buffyverse. I think she's a great actress.
Better things, you know.
She did. She's a great actress. You know, kind of to harken back to her stint on the show. I wish they'd kept her around longer. I really think.
Yeah, for things I've read, apparently her character's death was a shock to her.
Yeah,
and was not expected. And I think she was expecting to be a part of the show, and got unceremoniously ixnayed, which probably rubbed her a little.
Probably.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm definitely sad we didn't get to see Jenny kind of grow and become a bigger part of the show. And that goes back to stuff we said back when the character was first off. But yeah, this show's a 5. This episode's a 5. It goes on that. It's on the list of episodes I show to people. You know, say, hey, you haven't seen this show, watch these couple episodes. It'll
and if nothing else, if you can say nothing else about this episode, say you're a person that doesn't like it for whatever reason, the importance of what is set in motion in this episode to the overall arc of this series is
not just this series. This sets in motion our arc for
both,
for its sister series. Like, we've mentioned it enough. Anyone listening, like, I don't think it's a secret. At the end of this season, Angel leaves, and he gets his own spin-off show. And this episode lays a strong foundation for that groundwork. And really, what was just a single line, I need to know why I'm back.
But yeah, and I mean, and with this series specifically, this show, this is everything. It begins here.
Yeah, what the show culminates to. Yeah, you're right.
And the
tell
final,
me,
tell
me, you said you would talk about it, and I don't really think you did during your final thoughts, about where the first you feel is sprinkled out.
Well, I don't have, off the top of my head, I don't have specific references, but there are absolutely times, and in Angel, not just this show, but also Angel, which a lot of people would chalk up to Wolfram and Hart, oh, that was a Wolfram and Hart manipulation thing or whatever. I always chalked it up to, I don't think so. I think that was a little bit of the first one.
Mhm.
And I have read and watched things since then from Joss saying that he kind of felt that way too, and he would do things on just to see if anybody would notice it. Just like, spoiler alert, in the final season of this show of Buffy, Giles is not allowed. Anthony is not allowed to touch anything on set the whole season to make the audience wonder: is he the one? Is he the first?
Oh, right, because the first is non-corporeal and can't touch anything.
Right.
Right.
And
Right.
could Giles had been killed because the first can only take the form of things, including undead who have died.
Right. Right.
So he did that all season long just to fuck with the audience and just to
Right.
see if anybody would pick up on it and talk about it. And so yeah, I think there are many, and I'll tell you what, and as we do more episodes, anytime that I feel that way, I'll bring it up.
Okay.
And I'll say,
Yeah,
here's
I think
moments that I think could be the first manipulating things, setting things in motion.
yeah, and I'll do the same as I'm watching because I think it'd be interesting to see what you and I individually or together feel like you know what I think this could be one of those subtle nods to the first evil, you know.
And I think it could have been the first because we never get an actual answer as to how, why, where Angel is back.
Right.
It could be the first. Like it might not have been lying. It might have been brought. I believe it brought him back because it thought it was going to be able to easily manipulate and control him
And kill Buffy.
Because his as we discover later in the series, and again, spoiler alert, its ultimate goal is to wipe out the line of the Slayers,
Right.
so that it can take corporeal form and rule the earth.
Right.
And I think it felt like
Angel would be its
was
best
the
shot.
key to eliminating Buffy, who has by far been the most powerful thorn in the side Slayer that there's ever been. So
Right.
it wants to eliminate her. But anyway, we're going way too far in advance.
Right. But no, I mean, I like, you know, diving into it like that because a big part of like, I mean, we're only 11, well, at this point, 12 episodes away from diving into Angel and, you know, spoiler alerts, I guess, you know, the powers that be and Wolfram and Hart. And, you know, I think,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I do agree with you. Like, I know that there's a big inclination to believe that the powers are responsible for Angel being back. I'm kind of with you. I don't necessarily know that I've ever bought into that. I do kind of believe that, you know, the first for the reasons you just stated, and then the powers were kind of like we might be able to use this to our advantage.
Right. Because Joss himself has said that there is nothing older or more powerful in his universe. There's only one thing that's older and more powerful in his universe than the first evil, which is the Cedar of the Worlds. God, if you want to use that term, which he doesn't, but he calls it the Cedar of the universe.
Right.
And then the next oldest and most powerful thing is the first. And it all makes sense to me that it would have thought, okay, I can easily manipulate this fucking tool. I'll bring it back and I can get rid of this fucking Slayer, you know?
Right. And then, you know, like I said, that kind of dovetails into, you know, the possibility or the theory that the powers that be were like, well, he's here. The first failed with him. We can maybe use him to our advantage.
Yeah. And I don't, and to expand on that, I'm not sure. Well, I'm not sure or unsure that the powers that be had the power to bring him back.
Right. Right.
I think there's only two things that could, three things. Powerful magic, as we see in a couple more seasons.
Right.
The cedar or the first.
Right.
I don't think the
Right.
powers that be have that. That's not one of their powers. You know what I mean?
Right. But it'll be interesting. Definitely when we dive into City of, I would like to have further discussion about, the powers and Wolfram and Hart, as we get into that series. But anyway,
and the Hart.
The Wolf, the Ram, and the Hart. But anyway, we kind of went off a little course there with this. But yeah, I mean, this
it was such a good episode that it brought all this discussion.
Right.
Forward, that's
because
the fiber.
Right, because like you said, it does really lay the groundwork for the culmination of Buffy and
this entire universe.
Right, and the impetus for at least the beginning of Angel.
Well, all of it, because it's clear, it's stated multiple times by Joss and characters in the show. The first evil can never be defeated. It can never be destroyed. It will always be there.
Right.
So,
Yeah. What else? Oh, let you all know that you can visit us at buffyrevisited.com, where you will find links to our email, which is buffyrevisited@gmail.com, our Facebook and our YouTube. Our YouTube channel, you can leave comments on the video versions of these podcasts, which we will discuss prior to reviewing our episodes, and which we will comment on and engage in conversation with you on those comments. Same thing with our Facebook. We often post articles or news tidbits or whatnot related to the Buffyverse and or the individual actors therein. You can leave comments there, and we can discuss things. Of course, I gave the email. You feel free to email us there, and we can discuss things. We do enjoy hearing from everybody that obviously we shout out Silver Siren a lot. She's our most active participant in discussion. We do love hearing from people, and we do like to engage in that conversation about the Buffyverse. And I don't have anything else, so.
No, I do want to bring up, you always forget to mention, you can also find us on OnlyFans.
Oh, yes, nipples. Right.
And and we'll see you there.
And once again, the OnlyFans is only the monthly fee, the $20 monthly fee. We don't do any paywalls once you've signed up.
We'll take
no pay-per-views. We do take special requests
as long as it involves nipples.
Right.
Yeah. So next week we will pirouette into season 3, episode 11, Gingerbread.
Yes, episode 11.
Clearly about werewolves.
Sure. Our that'll be our 45th episode of the series overall. 45 episodes we've covered of the show already, Jeremy, and we will be halfway through season 3.
I know.
Which sadly means we will be halfway to season 4.
Yes, which we've discussed on air before that.
But
we are not
on the bright side, my dude, that also means that while we have the misfortune of covering season 4, we will simultaneously be covering season 1 of Angel. So at least we have that goodness to balance us out.
That will help us get through the horrific,
the dark times
season 4 of
season 4. And of course, as we get nearer to the end of season 3, we will lay out our details and our plans for season 4 and season 1 of Buffy, how that's going to work, the double coverage, our schedules for that, as far as you guys being able to listen and see those. All I'll say about that right now is double dose of James and Jeremy every week, baby.
Who don't want that? Come on, I'm sinking my tooth into it. All right. So, with all that being said, thank you for joining us this week, everyone. We will see you next week. I have been one of your hosts. I'm Jeremy.
I'm your other host, James.
Ta-ta.